Hi, my name is Amir Rozenberg. I am the Vice President of Product Management at Quali.com. I want to talk to you today about eliminating the need to sacrifice velocity for infrastructure planning. Let's start with a perspective on the market. Many companies are in transition from on-premise infrastructure to the cloud onto application-based environments, transition from the monolith to service-oriented architecture, removal of barriers of the CI/CD to streamline delivery of value to end users, etc. This transition introduces a lot of complexity. At the startup phase, environments are typically defined by a senior developer or architect. One team becomes 5, 10, 50, etc. They are all forking the existing IAC assets and modifying those to their needs. In reality, a typical developer does not see the ownership of application environments as part of their responsibility. They are there to develop the application code. So while development teams seemingly are happily utilizing IAC components such as Terraform, Helm, Ansible, and others to streamline their automation pipeline, the end result is what we call hacked islands of automation. In other words, as the team scales and so do the number of pipelines, the more difficult it is to manage necessary changes, support developers in a timely manner, while maintaining cost and governance. There is a chaos of IAC files in different repositories with unclear ownership. If this doesn't sound familiar, let's look at some actual pains we've heard. For example, when the architecture is not managed centrally, like a product, with a roadmap to support the business, eventually when the business will want to grow, you will hear, well, the architecture was never designed to grow this way, which results in significant re-architecture phase and delays to the business growth. Similarly, when environments are static and do not mimic production, developers can make assumptions and deploy code to production that will break on deployment. It may require debugging in production, leading to frequent and extended outages. Lack of availability of environments for testing and development is also an issue, causing testers to test in production, delaying commits. Users may get exposed to defects and possibly financial and brand damage. Another example is tracking cost and spend of development environments, which is also a challenge, particularly in complex multi-tech, multi-infrastructure environments. This is very relevant when we're talking about expensive resources, such as the case in many AI companies. Hence, the DevOps team lead is left with a difficult decision. Pull all of the IAC components and definitions back in the control of the DevOps team, and then possibly slow velocity, or alternatively, allow the development teams to keep doing their thing at the risk of cost and governance out of control. And in this format, the difficulty of supporting these multiple scalable teams with a minimal DevOps team. The solution, we believe, is what we call the infrastructure control plane. The control plane abstracts the complexity in assembling, deploying, and managing environments. It ingests existing IAC definition, stitching them together, defining the sequence and interaction between them, managing secrets, governance, cost, etc. The infrastructure control plane also provides visibility and control of the complex environment throughout its lifecycle. A key aspect of the solution are blueprints. Modular blueprints are used to define a complete automated environment a user needs to do his or her job, including not just the infrastructure, EKS, AKS, and so forth, but the data, network topology, cloud services, software services, and related tooling. Blueprints describe a complete application architecture made of multiple different grains and components. They are versioned, reusable, and modular components that can be nested and orchestrated. Here's an example of a 4-grain blueprint made of a child blueprint, MongoDB component, Helm, and WordPress application. One can see the parameters being passed to and from the components. To the right is the visual representation of this environment. An entire application environment represented in one version file that can be reused across teams to foster collaboration. Typically, a DevOps architect would design and maintain those blueprints. They don't have to maintain 1,000 files, just a handful. For governance, they can also maintain secrets and keys outside of the blueprint. Lastly, they are the ones assigning ready-to-use blueprints to specific teams based on the applications they are developing. The other aspect or challenge is the self-serve ability of sandbox consumers, namely developers, testers, product managers, pre-sales, support, and so forth, to spin environments. Not all of them have the necessary tooling and skills to do so. Also, what level of access do those consumers have to control and customize the sandbox, whether it's tagging, parameters, and so forth? Whether from the command line or from the portal, any team member can enter parameters that the admin enabled for modification. They can see the cost per hour of the environment and very easily spin those environments. Once the environment is up, they can start interacting with it. Naturally, any tool in the DevOps space would mostly be used through other tools, such as build servers, ticketing tools, source control, and others. A good solution must be fully featured and also open and integrated with adjacent tools. I'd like to give the stage now to Ronak, our trusted demonstrator and DevRel person, in order to drive a demo and demonstrate the points that we discussed.
Hey y'all, I'm Ronak from Quali. I'm DevRel manager here, and I'm going to take you on a demo. Thank you, Amir, for the QN. Sign in. Okay, so what we're looking at is Torque, your control plane for your infrastructure and to manage the infrastructure lifecycle. And when I log in, I'm in a space which typically equates to an application development team or an application, and that is how we control permissions in Torque. So I'm a part of Project Pivot. I'm a developer on Project Pivot, and I log in and I have access to this space and only this space. And then I have a catalog of environments I can provision from that were created by many smarter people than me, cloud architects that are going to make sure that the corporate standards, security, and all the appropriate tags and the right infrastructure, compute and storage types are all used to make the approved pre-prod environment. I don't have to worry about that. All I have to do is develop cool features here. So I'm going to go ahead and launch one of these environments, and I can do this at scale here. You would do this in your pipeline through the command line. I'm showing you how to do this through the web UI. I set the total time of life for the environment for 2 hours, so no more opening up tickets to the DevOps team to start an environment and then maybe forget about it. Who knows when it'll be shut down. Here we're controlling costs, and then I can set parameters to differentiate an environment from one another, including its title. So I'll just say this is dev environment, and that's so that we can launch many environments for our application team at scale and meet all the needs of that pipeline to get the development features that I care about out to production faster. All right, so I'm gonna launch this sandbox. And you can see here we're using an Azure Kubernetes cluster. And I'm going to go to the sandbox, and you see here on the right the life cycle of the infrastructure. Its major milestones in its life are being, you create the infrastructure all the way to verifying the environment. Here you see the time remaining left in the environment, which we can extend if we want. Things to look out for is the particular infrastructure that is a part of this blueprint plan. This environment is listed out here and the instance type. And also this is application specific, so it can show you what applications are being deployed. And here are the tags, all the tags that are put onto every piece of infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about that come time to parse out spending and costs. You can do that here in the cost section of your space within Torque. You can look up, you can slice and dice your cost any way you want to, so this doesn't become an activity that's tedious or and there's high confidence because it's auto tagged. You don't have to ever do that, so you'll never forget. You can put in the tag that you care about. Maybe you care about performance costs because it's near production, to how much is that costing per month. You can find that out here. Okay, let's go back and check on our blueprint, whether it's, you can see it, the status is active now. It has done all its steps here, and I have in the quick links here the link to the application that has been deployed. Remember, I pointed that out here. There's a database and there's a external API being served here on port 3001. I'm just going to go ahead and click that. And look, my API site is up and running here. And that's basically it. So now this is Torque, your control plane for your environment lifecycle. And you can see the application is out here. And if I want to know anything about my environment, I can just go here, including all the infrastructure, application, all the tags applied to it, and I can get a good view on how much costs I'm using, and including, within the environment itself, I can set time running, so I can control costs that way as well. All right, well, thank you for viewing my demo, and I'm going to Amir, take it away.
Thank you, Ronak, for the demo. To summarize, we believe DevOps leaders should not be forced to choose between velocity, governance, and cost. There is a middle ground where the necessary environment definitions are managed by the DevOps architects and are provided to the consumer of sandboxes in a simple, self-serve form. In this method, every constituent maintains access to the controls they need, working collaboratively and efficiently. I hope this triggered your curiosity. Please join our free offering at qtalk.io. If there are any questions, please reach out to me at amir.ro@quali.com. Thanks for watching.